A few years ago, I went to Cincinnati and Chicago with my two best friends, Emily and Alyssa. It was honestly one of the best times of my life, and I will never forget it for as long as I live. We had been planning it for months, and we had been saving money for a whole year by babysitting constantly. We had to have the best outfits possible, so we of course spent some of the money we made babysitting on some new clothes. We were going to a music festival, so we had to have some playlists ready for the car ride there. The day finally comes, and we cannot contain our excitement. I remember being so happy because I was just about to do my two favorite things: see my friends and travel. The trip helped me develop my taste in music, the bonds with my friends, my love for photography, traveling, and fashion, and my interest in filmmaking, psychology, and journalism. We start our trip off in Cincinnati. We drive from Akron to Cincinnati and actually made pretty good time. Since we are going to a 3-day music festival, we have to make a quick stop at the hotel to drop off our luggage. After we drop our stuff off, we go straight to the festival. Emily and Alyssa, who are twins, have been going to concerts with me for as long as I can remember, and their mom always takes us. She's not going to the festival though, so she drops us off while she explores Cincinnati. Going to concerts is one of my favorite things to do. The three of us usually go with our friend Brittany, but she could not go to the festival because she is in Europe. Once we get there, I can hear one of our favorite bands playing, so I yell, "Hurry up! You don't want to miss the neighborhood, Alyssa!" We go to watch them, and they're really good. Although in my opinion, I think that being a part of the crowd and dancing and meeting new people is the best part. I, of course, take too many pictures and videos, but in my photography class back at school, I used a lot of them and got very good grades on them. We continue to watch different bands throughout the day, and it is heaven for me. I love festivals so much because they bring people together through music. You have a common interest with the person screaming their heart out next to you, and I think that is awesome. After the first day seeing bands, we go to Chipotle and basically fall asleep while eating. I slowly wake up to Emily and Alyssa's mom screaming, "Get up, they're closing right now!" We head home and again fall right asleep. The next day is ultimately the same thing. We go to the festival and see another one of our favorite bands. After that band, though, we don't really have anything to do because we don't know any of the other bands. We talk and eat chili dogs for about an hour until we decide to see a band called Bleachers. Seeing this band live made them become one of my favorite bands. Their music is different from what I usually listen to, so they really opened my eyes and made me develop a greater music taste. After seeing them, I feel a drop of water plop down into my shoulder, and then another and another until it's pouring. I can still imagine the feeling of my soaking wet jeans and the smell of all my clothes after it poured. Once the second day of the festival is over, we drive to Kentucky. Yes, Kentucky. I'm craving McDonald's, and the closest one to us is in Kentucky. It is quite an adventure considering that the drive-thru is closed, so we have to walk in with our muddy and wet clothes. My feet squish down onto my wet shoes every time I take a step, making a terrible sound and leaving a wet path. It must have been an interesting sight to see. The third day is pretty similar to the first 2 days, but the weather is perfect. It is so sunny that I burned my entire face, leaving me with 2 rings around my eyes where my sunglasses were. We see so many amazing performances, and it is honestly the happiest I have ever been. We drive to Chicago the next day, but this time we are just being tourists. We go to the Navy Pier, the Art Institute of Chicago, and the Willis Tower, so again, I take lots of pictures. We go to Una's Pizza and eat way too much deep dish pizza. It is delicious, but my legs are trapped underneath the table because there's almost no room for anybody. This is because Uno's was established in 1943 when everyone was smaller. It is extremely uncomfortable, especially since I'm 5'9". Once we go back to the hotel, we watch American Horror Story or The Carrie Diaries every night. Now, when I watch one of these shows, I think of Emily, Alyssa, and Chicago. Watching American Horror Story, for some reason, really made me interested in filmmaking and producing shows. I find the show to be so psychologically twisted, which makes it so interesting to me. I would love to write or direct a show or movie direct a show or movie similar to it. The show combines history into it, which also makes it fascinating to me because I love history. Lastly, I'm interested in the psychology of somehow demented or crazy people. I want to know how they came to be and what made them do the things they did. American Horror Story portrays these people like this well. The Carrie Diaries is basically the total opposite of American Horror Story. I like the Carrie Diaries for completely different reasons. Since it takes place in the 1980s, it made me love almost everything about the 1980s, especially the fashion. The main character, Carrie's clothes scream the 80s. They are full of crazy prints, patterns, and neon colors. I don't totally like every fashion trend during the 80s, but I find it really fascinating looking at the different trends of every decade. Seeing the clothes on the show inspires me to be more creative with what I wear. This show also got me interested in journalism because Carrie is a writer for a magazine in New York City. That is my all-time dream job. The Carrie Diaries inspired me to become a reporter for my school newspaper to get experience in the field. A television show can be more than just interesting. It can inspire you in ways you never thought it could. On this second day in Chicago, we go to the Bean. It is basically a huge mirror that you would see in a funhouse shaped like a bean. It is basically a huge mirror that you would see in a funhouse shaped like a bean. Emily, Melissa, and I start taking pictures. We take some pictures from every angle. While we are starting to leave, we see a woman wearing a uniform to get on one knee. We easily figure out that she's proposing to her girlfriend. It is so beautiful. They are both crying and hugging. Everybody in the area is clapping and cheering for them, which is so amazing since they are a gay couple. That is definitely a step in the right direction. I cannot understand how some people are against rights for LGBT people. They are just living their lives. She fell in love with somebody and wanted to marry her. That's it. That's that. Plain and simple. It was an amazing event, and I will never forget it. My photography skills immensely improved while I was in Chicago. I took a photography class at my school, but that was just the beginning for me. My friends and I go to Millennium Park on the last day we were in Chicago. While I'm taking pictures, an older lady taking pictures with a very expensive-looking camera and a tripod next to me asks, "Do you want to use my camera? I'm not trying to be creepy. It just looks like you have a passion for what you do, and my camera takes great pictures." I say yes, and she shows me how to use the camera. She also shows me some cool things to photograph. I take some pictures, and one of them is actually won an award when I used in my photography class. I forget her name, but she was so sweet, and I'll always remember her. I love big cities because there are so many different kinds of things and people. Even though you would think photography is a quiet and introverted thing to do since you are observing things and people, it is actually very social because, especially if you're taking pictures of people. You cannot just take pictures of people without interacting with them somehow. That'd be very creepy and stalkerish. By talking to different kinds of people, you can learn more about cultures and find connections with them. Taking pictures is great because, let's be real, you cannot remember everything. In 50 years, I can look back at all the pictures from Chicago and remember all the fun times we had. While my friends and I were in Chicago, we truly became a lot closer. I think that travel brings people together and makes a relationship stronger because you might not always agree on things to do. You learn to compromise. Arguments make relationships stronger. Spending so much time with them and being away from home made our relationship stronger. It also made me more comfortable being without my parents, especially in a big city. Traveling to both Chicago and Cincinnati made me want to see more of the country. The history of every city is so interesting to me, and I love to learn about them. The trip exposed me to new and unique music, and I found my love for photography and traveling in general. Through watching two amazing shows, I became fascinated with fashion, journalism, filmmaking, and psychology. I think that the greatest and most important thing I got was a stronger bond with my best friends. The trip put us through many different experiences and brought us closer than ever before. I will never forget this trip for the rest of my life, and I know they will not either.